Sometimes the loudest statement you can make is your silence, and the strongest move you can make is to walk away. No drama, no explanation, just distance. Ladies and gentlemen, we've all been there. Questioned, doubted, misunderstood. But what if I told you that you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace over chaos, growth over gossip, or silence over senseless noise? There comes a time in everyone's life when choosing yourself is no longer an option. It becomes a necessity. You begin to understand that your peace of mind, your emotional well-being, and your sanity are more important than trying to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You realize that not every relationship, friendship, or connection is meant to last forever, and not everyone deserves a seat at your table just because they once had a place in your life. You start to see that peace doesn't come from approval, validation, or constant explanation. It comes from clarity. It comes from creating space between you and the noise, the judgment, the manipulation, and the negativity. You don't walk away because you're weak. You walk away because you finally learned your worth. Distance in this context becomes your armor. You don't slam doors or burn bridges. You simply stop showing up where your presence is not valued. You stop responding to energy that drains you. You stop defending your choices to people who never took the time to understand you in the first place. And you learn something powerful in this silence. You're not obligated to keep explaining yourself. You don't owe anyone a reason for choosing to protect what gives you peace. Your peace is not up for debate. It's a boundary, a shield, a declaration that you've grown beyond the need for chaos. This isn't about ego. It's about emotional survival. It's about choosing quiet over noise, stillness over struggle, and distance over drama. And in that choice, you discover that peace was never outside of you. It was always within you, just waiting for permission to lead. Sometimes the answers never come. The apology you waited for never arrives. The conversation you rehearsed in your head never happens, and the person who hurt you never truly understands what they did. That silence, the one that echoes louder than words, becomes your answer. It's easy to believe that closure comes wrapped in neat goodbyes, heartfelt confessions, and final hugs. But real life rarely gives us that. People leave without explanation, situations end without warning, and you're left holding questions that may never get answered. The truth is, closure doesn't always come from others. Sometimes it comes when you decide to stop looking for it outside yourself. You can waste years seeking an explanation that may never satisfy you, trying to understand why someone did what they did. But in that waiting, you delay your healing. You tie your peace to someone else's accountability, and that gives away your power. The most powerful closure is the one you give yourself. The moment you stop asking why and start saying asterisk, even without knowing, I'm moving on. Asterisk, it's choosing to release the need for answers and choosing peace instead. It's saying, this chapter may not have an ending I understand, but I'm closing the book anyway. That choice doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It means you refuse to stay stuck in the pain. You rise without revenge, without explanation, and without permission. You learn to live without the clarity you thought you needed, and in doing so, you find a different kind of clarity, the kind that comes from within, because the absence of closure asterisk is asterisk a form of closure. It teaches you to be your own healing. It teaches you to walk away with grace, to stand in your truth, and to let go. Fully, freely, and finally. Growth doesn't happen in crowded rooms, in toxic environments, or under the pressure of constantly proving yourself. It happens in the quiet. It happens when you step back, take a breath, and allow yourself the space to evolve without judgment, without noise, and without the weight of others' expectations. We often cling to familiar surroundings, people, and routines, even when they no longer serve us. But comfort is not the same as growth. In fact, it can be the very thing that stunts it. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to create distance. From people who drain you, from habits that numb you, and from environments that keep you small. Think of nature. Trees don't thrive when they're planted too close together. They compete for sunlight, for soil, for space. But when a tree has room to stretch its roots, when it isn't strangled by surrounding overgrowth, it flourishes. The same is true for you. You need room to think, to feel, to rebuild, to reflect. Taking space doesn't mean you're abandoning people. It means you're choosing to prioritize your potential. It's not about shutting others out, but about tuning into your own voice, a voice that often gets drowned out when life is too loud. When you give yourself permission to step away, you also give yourself permission to heal. To reimagine your future, to become who you were always meant to be, beyond the roles others have cast for you. So if something feels heavy, if your soul feels suffocated, it's okay to say, I need space. Because in that space, you don't just find distance. You find clarity, freedom, and the capacity to grow into your most powerful self. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. And not everyone who stays deserves access to the deepest parts of you, your heart, your dreams, your energy, your peace. One of the most empowering lessons you'll ever learn is that access to you is a privilege, not a right. It's easy to confuse history with loyalty. Just because someone has been around for years doesn't mean they still belong in your present. Some people come with constant negativity, manipulation, or emotional chaos, yet we keep them close out of guilt, habit, or fear of being alone. But letting someone stay in your life simply because they've always been there is like keeping a door open to a storm. You're inviting damage over and over again. You must become more intentional about who you allow into your space. Your time, your energy, your love, they are precious. You can't keep giving unlimited access to people who drain you, doubt you, or disrespect you. Boundaries are not walls to shut the world out. They're gates that protect what matters most inside. There's strength in learning to say no without guilt. There's wisdom in limiting conversations, reducing interactions, and sometimes walking away entirely. Not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. You don't owe people proximity just because they want it. You are not being rude. You are not being cold. You are choosing peace, clarity, and alignment. Your life is your sacred ground, and not everyone deserves a front row seat to your journey. Some only deserve a distant view of that. Remember this. Access to you should come with responsibility. If someone cannot honor who you are becoming, they should not have the privilege of standing beside you while you evolve. There's a quiet strength in choosing distance. It's not about running away or avoiding confrontation. It's about reclaiming your power. Distance isn't always physical. Sometimes it's emotional, mental, or spiritual. It's the deliberate decision to no longer engage with what drains you, confuses you, or dims your light. We're taught to fix, to explain, to keep trying, but there comes a point when trying becomes self-betrayal. When your energy is scattered in places where it's not appreciated, you begin to lose yourself. That's when distance becomes necessary, not as a punishment to others, but as a form of protection for yourself. When you step back, you gain perspective. You see things more clearly. You start to recognize patterns you once ignored, truths you were too close to see, and peace you didn't realize you were missing. Distance helps you return to yourself. It reminds you that not every battle needs to be fought, not every message needs a reply, and not every presence deserves a place in your life. There's dignity in not reacting. There's maturity in not explaining. There's power in simply choosing to disengage and refocus your attention inward. Silence speaks when words fall short. Stillness heals what chaos can't. When you create space, you don't just protect your energy, you realign with your values. You remember who you are and what you deserve. You stop shrinking to fit into places that were never meant for you. So the next time something threatens your peace, remember, you have the right to remove yourself without guilt, without explanation. Because distance isn't weakness, it's clarity, it's strength, it's the boundary that guards your growth and the silence that speaks your truth. There will always be voices telling you who to be, what path to take, and how to live your life. But the truth is, no one walks in your shoes. No one feels your pain, fights your battles, or dreams your dreams the way you do. Your journey is yours alone, personal, unique, and sacred. People will project their fears onto you, measure your life against their standards, and question your choices simply because they don't understand them. That's okay. They don't need to. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself, even if that means walking a road no one else sees. Sometimes that road will be lonely. You'll question yourself. You'll feel misunderstood, unsupported, and unseen. But that's often where the real transformation happens. in the silence, in the solitude, in the stillness of your own becoming. You don't need to explain your vision to those who weren't given your lens. You don't need to justify your steps to people who have never dared to take their own. The people meant for you will understand your growth, even if it looks unfamiliar. The rest will fall away. And that's not a loss, that's alignment. Give yourself permission to break away from the expected path. Trust your pace, own your direction. Your life is not a group project. It's a personal masterpiece in progress. You are allowed to evolve without notice, to rise without explanation, to change without apology. So keep going, even when no one claps, even when no one gets it, because at the end of the day, it's your story, your lessons, your resilience, your joy, and that alone makes your journey not just valid, but powerful beyond measure.